couple seconds to begin. And we are live, and let's do it. What is going on, my friends? Welcome back. It is, what day is it? It's Monday. That's right. It is Monday, the 9th, 2017. Hell yeah. Welcome back, y'all. It's been a really great day as usual. I feel like I say that a lot. It's been a really great day. I think it's usually a pretty great day. And I also forget to turn down my phone, which has happened twice in a row now. But welcome to the podcast. My name is Peter William, and I have been doing this podcast thing this is episode 17, so 17 times now. And the whole purpose and goal of this thing is that, or this project that I'm doing, is that this is a project that emphasizes the creative process. That really, instead of focusing on the content, you focus on the creative process, with the goal of turning this small little thing where I get on here and talk about random things I'm interested in into something that's actually like real and big and real, and like something that is polished and useful and sustaining. And going beyond that, something that would be like a network with many other different types of shows where you're collaborating with different people. So that is the goal. That is kind of like the idea behind this whole thing. And basically where I'm at right now currently is through doing this over 17 times now, and there goes my light, and that's a learning process within itself. Through doing that, and I'll keep talking while I'm doing this, through doing this, what I've discovered as of recently is that this is about, right now I'm discovering the content that I most enjoy. I'm understanding what it is that I truly want to, like what my message is, and what content truly inspires me, and what I'm best at talking about and presenting. And secondly is I'm creating this sense of consistency, and I'm just getting so used to doing this on a very consistent basis. I stream every day, 5 days of the week, Monday through Friday. I stream this show, and then on Saturdays and Sundays I do game streaming on Twitch. So basically that's what I've been doing in establishing this creative process, and so it's been fascinating, and I'm just very interested to see what happens 100 episodes down the line, where we're going to be. And that's actually not too far away, just because we're doing one every day. So anyways, I just wanted to hit on that before we actually jump into our topic for today, because that's one thing that's been like on my mind. It's like I just want to just present what it is that we're doing, to not only remind you guys but remind myself, because this whole process is actually, it's more difficult than I thought, or I knew it was going to be difficult, because like doing anything every day is not easy, because you're just going to have times you're not feeling it. It's like you're not always feeling it, and that's where, like, that's the difference between being a creator that actually creates something real versus a creator that is just fantasizing and has these great ideas, but doesn't have the power to execute them. Like, it takes power and it takes a will to make this happen. And so through that, like, you have to develop a system in which you can commit to and be able to show up every day for. So, and that's what this is. I'm so grateful, and it's really wonderful. And I was literally just standing here just before I started here, and I was like looking at my studio here, and I was like, I am so grateful to have this space and this opportunity right now. So let's use it. So with that in mind, let's use it and get into our topic for today. Today I want to talk about psychic abilities, and I want to talk about this because I just saw this interesting TED Talk, another band TED Talk. This one was with, his name is, I'm forgetting his name, but it's right here. As I find his name, what is it? No, it's not. I have a different one open. His name is Russell Targ, and Russell Targ is a physicist. You may have heard of him before, but he actually he did about 23 years of research at the Stanford Research Institute. And they, through their research, they found that they studied psychic phenomena, and what they found is that through all these years of research, they found that they were able to essentially reproduce psychic experiments that were extremely accurate. And I think this is something that, it's something that I've been aware of. I was aware of the general idea about this, that the government has run like remote viewing experiments. And by remote viewing, I mean remote viewing is basically when you can be alone, isolated in one room, and then you have a subject that's in another room, which could be right next door, could be 5,000 miles away, anywhere, just like random place, and basically the remote viewer will do his or her thing by basically closing their eyes, getting into a space, and then being able to visualize and see where this person is, and basically they just draw out where they think this person is, and then they compare. Then basically they show, okay, this is where I think this person is. Like there's a couple, like it looks like this and this and this, and so basically that's how they do. That's what remote viewing is. It's basically like a big game of hide and seek, except you're not actually you're seeking with using the psychic phenomena. So, anyways, this research was used by the CIA, NASA, and a bunch of other intelligence agencies. And like I said, it was extremely effective, so they found it very interesting. And it wouldn't have gone on for 23 years if it wasn't something that was effective. So before I get into like more of his stuff, I want to preface this, and I'll go into this more as well, is that I was just talking with my buddy Jesse about this. I find it interesting that, I feel like the mainstream, your typical like day-to-day person, like the people you work with, or like the people that you meet in your community, whatever that is, your day-to-day human, on average, is not open to the idea of psychic phenomena, or it's just considered bullshit. I find that interesting, and as Jesse was saying, he told me, he's like, it's interesting because the layman, your the average person is like thinks that psychic phenomena is bullshit. Yet when you get up into like the higher realms, like people who have a lot of money or people who are in higher governmental organizations, they highly value psychic phenomena, and they I'm not talking for everyone, but there is this fair amount. Where this is kind of like, oh, this is very accepted, but like when you go below that, it's not very accepted, and or at least the ones who accept it have to kind of like, be careful about what they say, as to be outcasted by society. So anyways, I find this very interesting, and this Targ guy, the fact that his TED Talk was banned, it doesn't surprise me at all. There definitely seems to be, well, it just feels like there's some sort of suppression going on, and obviously this is a subject that has come up, many times, that the government or the specific entities that are controlling us, who this is just like the conspiracy, that who don't want us to realize that we are psychic, because if we realize that, then we have much more power, and we can't be controlled. And for instance, like if you knew how to, if you have a bunch of people, in a society that know how to remote view, and they can remotely view highly classified documents, that is a bad thing for a government or a, FBI or any governmental organization. That's a very bad thing. So it would only make sense that they would have the desire to one, suppress the information, and two, do everything they can to lead people in a different direction. So anyways, that's just kind of like my perspective on it. But let's go back to Russell Targ. Basically, he started off by saying that when he was actually a little kid, he did, or like in his childhood, he was a magician, and he would commonly go out on the streets of New York and do these like little mental magic tricks. And he noticed that once in a while he would tap into someone's, he called it their life stream, and be able to like actually perceive like ESP, like basically he was psychic occasionally when he was doing these mental tricks. He actually knew it before. He knew what was happening before he could even had to do the trick. So he said that that this phenomenon of ESP in magic tricks is actually very, very, very common within the world of magicians or whatever. Apparently he says like everyone knows that like you do experience some form of ESP when you're doing these sort of mental tricks. It just happens, and I think that's very fascinating. That they, that's just not. I'm not in the world of magic, so I wouldn't know that. But like it's interesting to know that is the case. I am in the world of improv, and in improv we call it group mind, and it's very much like that's. We don't call it being psychic. We call it like group mind, and that like when you know exactly what it's like when you're very aware of this what this other person's doing, and like it's like you're able to create this scene, use it, and it's so extremely flawless and like this perfect scene, yet there was no script that was written beforehand, and both people seem to be on the exact same page and know the exact same information. It's kind of that sort of thing appears very often in improv as well, so I can definitely relate with that. But anyway, so let's go back to Russell Targ. He basically did a bunch of different, so the main research was remote viewing, as I was explaining before, and they did a couple different things, such as finding downed Russian airplanes in North Africa, locating kidnapped American generals, looking into Soviet weapons factories, looking at they said they also looked at a Chinese atomic bomb test 3 days before it would happen and discovered it would fail before it actually happened. So with that in mind, he said that, so basically he started to go into how basically when you're in this remote viewing state, or he calls like this non-local state, which is like beyond, basically traveling within the space-time continuum. He's like, with that you can move your location, and you can also move in terms of your time. So basically it's like if you looked at like, it's like if there's like an X and Y axis and one was space and one was time, like you can move around in those areas all you want. So basically you can go to a particular location at a time, basically at any year you want. It could be the present, past, future. You can do that with remote viewing. One of his interesting stories was, let's see, what was that one? He said that, so one time a psychic had, basically their project was to identify a building that, or a structure where one of the members who was they were hiding at the specific location, and the remote viewer had to tell him what that location looked like. And basically he had said that like there was all these specific structures, and there was this very large structure that was like very tall. So he actually was very accurate. After looking at the map, they found that he was very accurate in terms of all of his descriptions, except for the part where he said there's this very tall building, which he thought was some sort of like power center or something like that. And so they're like, that's interesting, I wonder why he said that. And so they found out later on that the guy had actually picked up on a building that had been there 75 years ago, and it was shown on those maps 75 years ago that this city had this huge giant structure there. And so basically at that point they're like, wow, so this guy remotely traveled to this location, except he went 75 years ago. So that's an interesting aspect as well. So that's something that they discovered, that's another thing that they were able to do. he then went into saying that, like, non-local space-time theory is actually not even a theory. It's something that was a theory when Schrödinger brought it up in the 1920s, but by the 1970s and the 80s, they actually proved his theory to be true. So the idea of non-local perception is actually not New Age at all, and it's actually completely accepted within the physics community, which is something that I actually wasn't aware of. I didn't know that was actually a legitimate thing, which is very interesting to me. So we believe in so that is like a scientifically proven thing. Non-local phenomena is a scientifically proven thing. Yet we as a society we reject the idea that any sort of psychic phenomena is like legitimate at all. It kind of doesn't really make sense to me, but yeah, that was a huge fascinating part. So he then went into saying that, in terms of doing research, he said there's two ways in which you can prove something. One way is to have like a crap load of experiments, do a crap load of experiments, and have just like a quantity of experiments that you can say, yes, after doing like these hundreds of experiments, we have seen a positive correlation. This is statistically a significant finding here. Or you can do like one or two experiments, and if the results are the results may be so powerful that the test, they don't need to do as many experiments on it, because it's just like the results are conclusive. So he brought up an example, saying that in like the whatever. In the past, the government did a study on aspirin to see if they were more effective than the placebo, and the study was so conclusive that they had to end the experiment early to not deprive the control people, the people who are not taking the aspirin, of their pills, essentially, because they're testing in terms of like heart attack risk, and they found that taking aspirin like significantly decreased your heart attack risk, and so they had to stop with that. So anyways, so there was power to that experiment, because it was like immediately they found out, yeah, this is extremely significant, and we need to stop this now. So now comparing that result, so that result is something that they got all the time with these psychic experiments, except it was 10 times that effect. So basically, so that's a big reason why they were doing this for 23 years. They're extremely accurate results, and hard to say that wasn't the case. Apparently, I think it was 1982. They did a commodity forecast where basically they did a bunch of forecasts on silver, and they wanted to understand, it's like they wanted to invest in silver at the right times when it would be least and most valuable, and what actually they were able to. They did 9 forecasts on it, and they were 100% successful and made over $120,000 from it, which is a lot of money in 1982. So they were like, this was like very tangible, real results that they were getting, and using it to make money and different things to prove that how effective this was. So at the end of his talk, Targ was basically like, he's like, I really like this part of the talk, because he's like, if you really look at yourself in the mirror and think that you're this body, then you're gonna live a life. You're gonna live most of your life suffering, because in my experience, what I've learned from my experiences with ESP, my experiences with remote viewing, is that you are. What you really are is a non-local awareness independent of space and time, and that you are the awareness that goes, which allows you to move your consciousness anywhere in the world independent of space and time. That's what you are. That's what he believes you are. This physicist, who's done research with the government, truly believes that this is what he is. And he said that in order to really truly utilize these powers, you have to actually give up your desire to name and label things, because in the universe things aren't labeled. humans label things. And that's interesting because it brings me back to the concept of like quantum physics, where it's like when you look at something, suddenly the electrons change their positions. It's because suddenly you're defining it, you're labeling it. But if you can observe if you can passively observe, nothing changes. It's an interesting phenomenon. But anyway, so like after watching that, it's interesting. I find the whole concept's interesting to me. I personally have always been so. I've just always felt psychic, I guess I would say. I've always felt like psychic powers were an absolute thing. They're like no-brainer to me. And I think in my life, it's just been like all these. I feel like it happens on a consistent basis. Like I do experience psychic phenomena on a daily basis, but it's so, I want to say it's so subtle that sometimes it's like I wouldn't necessarily write a book on it because it's these things are so small, but like they're part of my day-to-day life, and it can be as simple as like there's shoes. Sometimes I'll see a particular symbol. For instance, like I saw shoes dangling, over a telephone pole, and for some reason I was looking at that. I was like, why does this seem significant to me? Why is this significant? I didn't really understand it. I was like, why is that? A month later, I found myself standing in a similar area. Completely different location, but similar spot. It felt like similar shoes dangling, and that's where I was in the parking lot of where I was now living. And it was funny because I really struggled to find like a new apartment to live in, and what that was essentially forecasting for me was that I would find this other. It's like these shoes dangling were significant to me. They were like calling out to me because like that was essentially where I would be. It was, I don't know, it was just like a message, and it's like you could totally interpret that in many different ways, but like when it's a very I think the psychic phenomenon is a very personal experience. Like it's like you know it, and it's not logically based. It's hard to really like explain why it is so true to you, but it is. I think other phenomena is like dream phenomena. And there's so many experiences that I've had that I'm surprised I'm not thinking more. But I've had dreams where I don't dream much, but when I do, it's usually pretty significant. And so there's this girl that appeared in my dream, and she was just it was an extremely emotional dream. I felt like so much love in that dream. And about 2 months later, I met that girl. And she ended up being one of my best friends, and actually ended up being someone that like had a huge impact on my life. So that's another example of just like this premonition of sorts, which is very much psychic phenomena. I've been to many different mediums and psychics, and I am very particular about who I go to. I've been to somewhere like I'm not feeling your energy, I'm not feeling your vibe. I don't really like trust you. But I've been to a few that have been deadly accurate, deadly, so on, ridiculous. I know one told me, it's like, do you have a brother that passed away? And I was like, no. He's like, I feel like, this girl's like, I feel it in an energy. Did your mom have an abortion? And I was like, I don't think so. And then I asked my mom, and she said she did. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy, or even just like I was really into this software. There was a point in my life I was really interested in software. I was like really into it, and go to this medium. She's like, you're really into software right now. Something about and this is just like a time in my life where I would. It's like I was like I'm not usually into that, but like she like directly called it out. Another guy told me, he's like you need to isolate yourself. You need to find some space because there's messages that you need to receive. Now this is getting weird into it now, but there's messages that you need to receive, so you need to go like find a space where you can just be away from all technology, just be quiet for a few days. And lo and behold, about 2 months later, I find myself in a space where I'm like completely isolated, and I start like receiving all these visions and stuff about my future, and I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is this? And so, anyway, this psychic phenomena thing, like, I get it if you don't believe in it. It's because part of it is like it's an experience that you need to have, and if you want to have the experience, I think you just gotta also ask for it. That's one part of it, but I like to also look at it from a logical level, like why it's just like why is society so weird about something that is like clearly a thing? It's like if they've done studies, if the government says this is a real thing, and they use it, there's like freaking NYPD, LAPD uses psychics to help them solve cases. I just don't understand how that can't be. It's just like, how do we not see that as something that is like real and worth looking more into, So anyways, that's just my rant about that. But one thing I found interesting would be fun is to do a remote viewing podcast. Try it out just for fun. Like, we would basically learn the techniques and then try it out on each other, and I think I'm gonna do that one of these days just to see what would happen. I think that could be pretty fun. So, because that's one thing I really want to do, is I think playing around with psychic phenomena would be really an awesome, interesting thing. And I'll definitely have some psychics on here very soon. I have some that I'm very I know very well, so I will definitely do that. But anyways, hope you all enjoyed that. These damn freaking banned TED Talks. Like, what the hell? What the hell is that all about? I don't get that. I don't understand that. But I do, but I don't. Just one of those things. So, anyways, that's all I got for today. I will see y'all tomorrow. Not sure exactly what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but we'll figure something out before that time. But until that time, y'all have yourself an amazing day. Love y'all. Peace and love.